I found the divorce papers hidden inside a pizza box, not even handed to me with respect, just tucked between breadsticks like I was yesterday's trash. My husband of 12 years couldn't even look me in the eye. But what he didn't know, I had already found his secret bank account. Before I tell you how I made him regret every lie, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You're going to want to follow this story to the very end. Trust me, this gets wild. Now, let me take you back to where it all started. My name is LaShonda, and up until 8 months ago, I thought I had the kind of marriage people envied. You know the type, the couple that posts cute anniversary photos, finishes each other's sentences, and actually enjoys spending time together. Brandon and I had been married for 12 years. 12 years of building a life in our Atlanta suburb home, planning for kids, supporting each other's careers. I was a graphic designer with my own little client base, and he was doing well in real estate. We had the house, the cars, the weekend brunches with friends. From the outside, we looked perfect. But somewhere around 6 months before that pizza box moment, things started shifting. It was subtle at first. Brandon started working later than usual. He'd come home at 9, 10 o'clock at night, smelling like cologne I didn't buy him. His phone was always face down on the table, and if it buzzed while I was near, he'd snatch it up like it was on fire. Our conversations got shorter. Date nights disappeared. And our bedroom? It became a place where we just slept on opposite sides of the bed, barely touching. When I'd try to initiate anything, a conversation, intimacy, even just asking about his day, he'd brush me off. "I'm tired, LaShonda. Work's been crazy." That became his favorite line. I tried to tell myself it was just a rough patch. Marriages have those, right? Everyone goes through phases where you're not as connected. My best friend Naya warned me, though. She pulled me aside at a cookout one Saturday and said, "Girl, something ain't right with Brandon. I've seen the way he acts around you now compared to before. You need to pay attention." I laughed it off, told her she was reading too much into things, told her Brandon and I were solid, that we'd been together too long for him to be doing anything crazy. I believed in him. I trusted him. That trust was about to cost me everything. The cracks really started showing when I checked our credit card statement one day. I handled most of our bills, but Brandon had his own card for work expenses. I usually didn't look at it, but something told me to that particular afternoon. There it was, a charge for $1,500 at a jewelry store. My heart jumped for a second. Maybe it was a surprise for me. Our anniversary was coming up. But the date on that charge was from 2 months prior, and I'd never received any jewelry. Then there were hotel charges on weekends when he claimed he had work conferences, restaurants in parts of town he had no business being in. My stomach started turning. I wanted to confront him, but another part of me was terrified of what I'd find out. I started watching him more closely. Every time he said he was going to show a property, I'd note the time. He'd be gone for hours longer than any showing should take. His mother called the house one Sunday asking if he wanted to come by for dinner, and he wasn't even on a work trip like he'd told me. He was just gone, and I'd covered for him without even knowing I was lying. The woman I was becoming, suspicious, anxious, checking his location on our shared phone app, I didn't recognize her, but I couldn't stop myself. Something was deeply wrong. Then came that Friday night. Brandon walked through the door at 7 with a pizza box in his hands. He wouldn't look at me, wouldn't meet my eyes, just set the box on the kitchen counter and mumbled something about needing to run to the store for drinks. Said he'd be right back. The way he moved, all jittery and nervous, made my skin crawl. The second the door closed behind him, I walked over to that pizza box, and that's when I saw the corner of a manila envelope sticking out from under the pizza. My hands were shaking when I pulled it out. The return address was from a law firm. I opened it right there in my kitchen, and the words on the first page felt like a punch to the chest. Petition for divorce, filed 2 weeks ago. My name listed as the respondent. He'd already started this process, and I was just finding out because he didn't even have the guts to hand it to me himself. The demands were even more insulting. He wanted me to vacate our home within 30 days. The home that had my name on the deed just as much as his. He wanted a quick, clean split of assets, and the way it was worded, it was clear he'd been planning to lowball me on everything. I stood there in that kitchen, pizza getting cold, and something inside me cracked wide open. I cried. I'm not going to lie to you, I broke down right there on the floor, called my sister Monique, and she was at my house within 20 minutes with a bottle of wine and a box of tissues. She held me while I sobbed, and then she said something I'll never forget. Cry tonight, LaShonda. Get it all out, but tomorrow we fight. You hear me? Tomorrow we make him wish he'd done this the right way. Brandon never came back that night. Didn't come back the next day either. I found out later he'd been staying in a hotel downtown. He was avoiding me because he's a coward, plain and simple. But his avoidance gave me time to think, to plan, and to get angry in the most productive way possible. Monday morning, I called the divorce attorney Monique recommended, Thomas Wright. He was this older black man with silver in his beard and a reputation for not playing games. I walked into his office with that petition and every financial document I could find. Thomas looked everything over, asked me questions about Brandon's behavior, about our assets, about anything unusual I'd noticed. When I mentioned the credit card charges and the weird hotel stays, his eyebrows went up. We need to dig deeper, he said. Your husband might be hiding assets, and if he is, that's fraud. We can use that. Thomas connected me with a private investigator, a woman named Detective Helen Rodriguez. She was thorough, let me tell you. Within a week, Helen came back with information that made my blood boil. Brandon had opened a secret bank account 8 months ago, right around the time he started acting different. He'd been systematically transferring money into it. Small amounts at first, then bigger chunks. By the time Helen tracked it all down, he'd moved $85,000 of our marital funds into an account I had no access to. But it got worse. He'd bought a condo downtown 3 months ago, put it in just his name, and that's where he'd been spending time with her. Her name was Brittany, 26 years old, worked as an assistant in his real estate office. Helen showed me the photos, Brandon and Brittany walking into that condo holding hands, kissing in the parking lot, her wearing a diamond necklace I recognized from our credit card statement. The necklace I thought might have been for me. They'd been together for at least 10 months. Almost a year of my husband living a double life, and I'd been so trusting, so naive, that I missed it all. But Helen wasn't done. She dug into property records and found something even more infuriating. Brandon had secretly purchased a rental property using marital funds and put it in his mother's name to hide it from me. That property was generating $3,200 a month in rental income that I knew nothing about. He'd also cashed out what he told me was a small retirement fund. Turned out it was worth $120,000. When Thomas added it all up, Brandon had hidden or misappropriated over $250,000 in assets. My husband wasn't just leaving me, he was trying to rob me blind on his way out. I could have fallen apart right then, could have let the betrayal consume me, but instead I got cold, calculated. Thomas explained that Georgia is an equitable distribution state, meaning everything acquired during the marriage is marital property. Brandon's fraud wasn't just morally wrong, it was illegal in the eyes of the court. We brought in a financial forensics expert who subpoenaed every bank record, every credit card statement, every transaction Brandon had made in the last 2 years. We were building a case that would bury him. And then I found his laptop. He'd left it in our garage, tucked behind some old paint cans like I'd never think to look there. The password? Our anniversary date. The irony would be funny if it wasn't so pathetic. I opened that laptop and found everything. Emails between him and Brittany going back almost a year. Messages where he called me controlling, said I was holding him back, told her he couldn't wait to be free of me. He promised her they'd get married as soon as the divorce was quick and cheap. He had a whole strategy, pressure me to settle fast, offer me barely anything, and I'd be so hurt and overwhelmed that I'd just sign and disappear. He thought I was weak. He thought I'd just go quietly. Brandon's lawyer tried to play hardball, demanding I vacate the house immediately, said I was preventing the sale of a marital asset. Thomas shut that down real quick. My name was on the deed. I wasn't going anywhere. In fact, I changed the locks. Totally legal since I was a titled owner. When Brandon showed up 2 days later, screaming on my front porch about how I couldn't keep him out of his own house, I filmed the whole thing. Watched him lose his mind, threaten me, show his whole true self on camera. That footage became Exhibit A in proving his real character. The deposition was beautiful. I sat there calm, composed, while Brandon fell apart under questioning. Thomas asked him about the secret bank account. Brandon claimed he forgot about it, forgot about $85,000. Then Thomas brought up the rental property. Brandon said it wasn't his, that it was his mother's investment. But then he slipped up and mentioned the rental income, how it was steady every month. His own lawyer looked like he wanted to disappear. They had him dead to rights, and everyone in that room knew it. But the real twist came when my sister Monique did some digging on social media. She found Brittany's private Instagram account. Posted 3 weeks earlier was a photo of a sonogram. Brittany was pregnant, 5 months along. The timeline matched up perfectly. That's why Brandon was in such a rush. He wanted to be divorced and single before his baby arrived. He was literally trying to erase me from his life so he could start fresh with this girl and their child, all while stealing my money to fund their new beginning. When I found that out, something in me went ice cold. This wasn't just infidelity. This wasn't just financial fraud. This was a man who'd spent 12 years with me, made vows, built a life, and then systematically dismantled everything while planning his new family behind my back. The disrespect was so profound I couldn't even cry anymore. I just wanted justice. Thomas put together a settlement demand that would make Brandon feel every bit of pain he'd caused me. We demanded 60% of all marital assets, including the hidden ones. I'd keep the house outright, all $425,000 of equity. The rental property would be transferred to my name, and I'd get the income from it for 2 years. He'd pay all my legal fees, which were substantial at that point, and he'd pay me $4,000 a month in alimony for 5 years. When Thomas calculated everything, Brandon was looking at writing me a check for over $200,000 immediately, plus the ongoing payments. The alternative? We'd go to trial, and I'd make sure every ugly detail became public record. Brandon's lawyer took one look at the evidence we had and advised him to settle. Told him straight up that if we went to court, he'd lose everything and possibly face legal consequences for the fraud. Brandon tried to go around the lawyers and contact me directly, left me voicemails where he was suddenly crying, saying it was all a mistake, that he still loved me, that we could work it out. The same man who'd served me divorce papers in a pizza box was now begging for another chance. I recorded every message and sent them to Thomas. They only strengthened our position. In the end, Brandon settled. Signed papers agreeing to almost everything we demanded. I got the house, free and clear, got a cash settlement of $215,000, got the rental property transferred entirely into my name, got my car paid off completely, got $4,000 a month for the next 4 years, and he had to cover every penny of my legal fees. Brandon walked away with his business and what was left of his retirement, but he was basically broke. Everything he'd schemed and planned for had backflipped right into my lap. The divorce was finalized 4 months after that pizza box moment, 4 months from devastation to vindication. And you want to know the sweetest part? Brittany found out about all the money he'd lost in the settlement, found out he'd be paying me for years. She dumped him 2 months after their baby was born, took that child and filed for child support. Now Brandon's paying me and paying her, living in a studio apartment, driving a used car, and dealing with the consequences of his own choices. My friend Nia keeps me updated through mutual friends. I don't reach out or gloat. I don't need to. The life he's living now is punishment enough. As for me, I used part of that settlement money to start my own design agency. It's small but growing, and it's all mine. I renovated the house exactly how I always wanted it. Knocked down a wall, updated the kitchen, made it feel like a home that's truly mine. The rental property income gives me financial security I never had before. I'm closer to my family than ever. My sister Monique and I talk almost every day. Nia and I take trips together. I even started dating someone new, a good man who treats me with respect, who communicates, who shows up. I'm taking it slow because I'm smarter now, more careful, but I'm also happier than I've been in years. The biggest lesson I learned through all of this: never ignore those red flags waving in your face. When something feels wrong, trust that instinct. Protect yourself financially. Always know where the money is and where it's going. Don't let pride or fear keep you from gathering evidence when you need it. Paper trails are everything in situations like this. And most importantly, your worth is never determined by someone who betrayed you. You define your own value. If this story taught you something, or if you've been through something similar, drop a comment below. Let's support each other. And hey, smash that like button if you believe karma is real. Subscribe because I've got more stories that'll make your jaw drop. Remember, never let anyone treat you like you're not valuable. You are the prize. Always have been. I'm LaShonda, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay strong, sis.